What are the signs and rulings concerning the mukhannath or the hermaphrodite? The hermaphrodite, what they refer to today as intersex. Because the transgender community is very clever in its marketing. So they'll say that, you say that there are only two genders and two sexes. I don't distinguish between the two. If you're male, you're male. If you're female, you're female. Call it gender, call it sex. Right? So they say gender is a social construct. So you're born with certain genitals. Right? A boy, and what we would refer to as a boy and a girl, or male or female. They say that is their sex at birth. Gender is not defined by your genitalia. Gender is defined by society, so therefore, since it is a societal construct, you can decide what you are as you get older. So in schools they'll say, what do you think you are? So a 5-year-old girl will say, I like when my dad mows the lawn, and I like when he plays football, and I like my dad when he does this. I think I want to be like dad. Well, you can be a boy. Sharon. So Sharon's now at the age of 5, a boy. Why? Because she's looking at her dad. So they think that just because you incline towards, the good... Which girl doesn't love her dad? Which boy doesn't love... I like cooking with mum and we bake cakes. Oh, do you, Darren? So do you like being a girl? Yeah, I really love mum and I really like my sisters. Well, you can be just like your sisters. Do you like the colour pink? Done. Underline it. Hormone treatment at the age of 9 and 10. Hormone blockers. So as soon as they're approaching puberty, block the estrogen. Introduce testosterone. So now she won't have any breasts. Right, so those normal functionalities which they refer to as secondary sexual characteristics don't kick in. And it's irreversible. They claim, it's reversible. How do you reverse something that is hormonal inside your body? You're damaged for life. So, we don't allow them to hijack that which is exception to the rule. Alright, so the exception to the rule, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's something like 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 that has genital issues when they're born. Basically, indefined genitalia. 1 in 10,000, might even be more than that. But it is something, minutely small as compared to the general population. So, just like when you see a child that is born with a deformity, right, or with a disability, Down syndrome, for example. So these are exceptions to the rule. A child is born normal. So when a child is born disabled, we don't say, that's normal. We say that child was born, Bachara, he was born like this, or he was born blind, or he can't hear, or he was born with some sort of, deformity or disability or mental, disability. That's what we say. When a child is born with deformed genitalia, or genitalia that is absent, or with genitalia that is it is not defined, male or female. This is what is referred to as a hermaphrodite or intersex. This is a new term, intersex, but in essence it is hermaphrodite. And these were present throughout history. They are mentioned in hadith. Right? Whose male and female parts are not defined. So is it, maybe they'll have both. One is lesser than the other. One overpowers the other in terms of its inclination. Meaning one part of its sexuality will be more than the other. So you'll see them, and they are everywhere. You see them in Pakistan, you see them in Europe, you see them everywhere. These historically have always been present. They were present in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The hadith in Bukhari mentioning them. So what is the Islamic ruling upon them? Number one is that how they are treated is based upon what is aghlab, what is, overwhelming in their sexual characteristics. So if they are overwhelmingly male, with male defined characteristics, like build, and height, and voice, and hair, and the manner in which they speak and their outward characteristics are male, then they are placed alongside the males, even though they may not have male genitalia. Right? They may not have them, or it is deformed, or it is something that is crossed between a male and a female. There is something of the female genitalia that is there, but it is a test from Allah, just like the blind man, the deaf man, a baby that is born Down syndrome, mentally, disabled. It's a trial from Allah. You're not going to say that is the norm now. That now, we don't say that is a transgender child. Of course you wouldn't call it transgender, because transgender is transitioning. That's the term. You're transitioning from one sex into another. These are born like this. This community is born like that. They are not transitioning. They were born like that as a test for them, and a test for us as well. That we are grateful to Allah. When a child is born blind, then you are grateful to Allah that your child isn't blind, and you're thankful to Allah, and you make dua for their family. That's what we do. When we see a person who is suffering, then we are more grateful to Allah for Allah has given us, and say, it doesn't matter what I'm going through, look at those poor people. Allahul Musta'an, Allahul Musta'an. I am not grateful to Allah enough. I'm complaining about the fact that my salary is low, and look at that mother who's looking after that disabled child, paralyzed from the neck down since birth. Because we have, even in our community in Birmingham, there's a brother in his family, his sister, as far as I recall, she is blind, deaf, and she can't talk. And she has disabilities in her body. So what does that make the believer do? We make dua for him. Expiation for the family who care for that child. Expiation for that child, that Allah will put them in Jannah if they have sabr. Sabr with the family, that the reward for the family that lives with that trial. And they love that child like they would love even the rest of the children, maybe even more. So Allah tries us. So now when I look at that, I think, what am I complaining about? What have I got to complain about? That child requires 24-hour attention. That child is now 28, 29 years old. Someone has to clean it when that child has to, oh girl it is. Allah, someone has to clean that girl when she soils herself because she can't visit the bathroom. Or that boy that soils himself. Mothers have to do that. Fathers have to do that. So you think to yourself, what have I got to complain about? I am ungrateful. So if the intersex, hermaphrodite, if that which is aghlab, that which is overwhelming in its in his or her characteristics is feminine, so its body build is feminine, its voice is feminine. Maybe, the bosoms are present like normal women. But sexually, genitalia wise, there's maybe no, the normal genitalia of women. Right? Maybe it's male even. So now that is considered to be a woman in the women's side. In the masajid, in the women's side. Dressed like a woman. Because that is what is overwhelming. So Islam has the answer. What's transgenderism got to do with that? What's this artificial? A man, fully functioning, physiology male, genitalia male, primary and secondary male characteristics in that person. Now, he wants to transition. And you say, what are you doing? Well, there's always been hermaphrodites inside. They were born like that. Don't compare yourself to them. Don't compare yourself to them. This is how Islam deals with this affair. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.